So I decided to do more Hollywood educational stuff. So today I'm going to talk about the secret love affair between Tab Hunter and Anthony Perkins. So Tab Hunter is best known for his movies in the 1950s like Damn Yankee, Battle Cry, and he had a small music career. And Anthony Perkins is best known for his role in Psycho as Norman Bates, who was the lead character. So the two first met in the 1950s at Chateau Marmont, which is on Hollywood Boulevard. The two would go through great lengths not to be seen together and would use beards like Venetia Stevenson to hide their relationship. Tab would also use Natalie Wood as a beard. Tab eventually did become intimate with this one woman named Achika Kuru. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong, but technically he was cheating on Anthony Perkins. Eventually the pair stopped seeing each other because Tab wanted to do a movie for the TV show he did, Fear Strikes Out, but Anthony Perkins had his studio buy out the movie for him. The last time the two saw each other was when Tab asked Anthony to be a part of the Less Than a Dust movie with the
William Desmond Taylor was an actor turned director in the 1910s and 20s. He worked with some of the biggest stars of the age. On February 2nd, 1922, he was found shot inside his bungalow apartment. The crime scene was strange for a lot of reasons. Except for a bit of blood under his head, everything in the apartment was clean. He was lying face down with his hair combed and his clothes smoothed. He died with the equivalent of $1,000 in his pocket and had a 2-carat diamond ring on his finger, which ruled out robbery. When his employer, Paramount Studios, heard what had happened, they sent out representatives to completely wipe down the crime scene. By the time police arrived, it was completely compromised, and the only strange thing they found was a large collection of women's lingerie. The last person to see him alive was famous actress Mabel Normand. She had a severe cocaine addiction, and it was rumored that she had asked him for help, and he got caught up in the drug ring. The case has never been solved. Gene Kelly dreamed of being a pro athlete, but was put in dance by his mother. He toured in vaudeville, dancing with his brother, and later ran a successful dance school. His big break came when he appeared in Pal Joey on Broadway, and the play was seen by David O. Selznick, who offered him a contract. His experience in sports helped to create his unique style of dance. It mixed his strength with traditional ballet training. Gene was a perfectionist, and he quickly adapted to the camera. He even created some dance steps that were only meant to be performed on film. Against the wishes of MGM execs, Gene did most of his own stunts. The only thing he would not do is ride a horse. Often compared, Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire only danced together on film one time in Ziegfeld Follies. They reunited in 1974 to dance together one last time in the documentary That's Entertainment. At your request, here are the most popular and, in my opinion, crazy conspiracies about the death of Marilyn Monroe. Along with JFK, a partially redacted FBI document suggests Marilyn might have been having an affair with Robert Kennedy. Marilyn was said to document her conversations with the Kennedys, including highly sensitive government information in a little red book, making her a huge liability to them. Some say that Marilyn got involved with the mafia, got in over her head, threatened to reveal their secrets, and they killed her using chloroform. Then there's one man, John Alexander Baker, who claims that her death was staged, and he says that he picked her up hitchhiking in 1984. There's a wiretap that exists from the day Marilyn died that has never been released. Some claim she was threatening to hold a press conference to talk about UFO debris JFK told her about. This one ties in the famous Roswell UFO story and claims that Marilyn was killed to keep UFOs a secret.
You guys asked for it, so let's just jump right in. These are the 9 husbands of Zsa Zsa Gabor. In 1935, Zsa Zsa married Turkish diplomat Burhan Belge. They divorced in 1941, and in 1942, Zsa Zsa married Conrad Hilton, the founder of the Hilton hotel chains. They divorced in 1947, but don't worry because in 1949, Zsa Zsa married actor George Sanders. They divorced in 1954, but in 1962, she married investment banker Herbert Hutner. They divorced in 1966, but don't worry because that same year she married Joshua Cosden Jr. That didn't last long. In 1967, they got a divorce, but don't worry because in 1975, she married American designer Jack Ryan. That one didn't last long either, and in 1976, they got a divorce, but don't worry because in 1976, she also married attorney Michael O'Hara. They of course divorced, and in 1983, she married actor Philippe de Alba. And in 1986, she married her final husband Frederic, and they were together until she died in 2011.
During the studio era, many of the stars were under 4 or 7-year contracts with the studios. For a lot of people, getting one of these contracts was a dream come true, but it also came with its fair share of rules. Here are some that you might not know. Stars were created like characters, with personas that they had to stick to. You could be a boy next door, a girl next door, a leading man, or the bombshell. Actors were often given fake origin stories, and it was their job to stick to the image they were given. If you were an actress, there was a significant chance that the studio was going to tell you how to look, which meant that you were usually put on a strict diet. Judy Garland was one of the actresses who had a famously regulated diet in addition to diet pills, which later led to her pill addiction. In addition to your looks and persona, the studio often told you who to date in order to drum up publicity for a movie. This still seems to happen today between a lot of actors and pop stars.
You might remember Lana Turner for being one of the most well-known actresses of the golden era, but what you might not know is her daughter stabbed her boyfriend to death and basically got away with it. Lana's daughter was only 14 at the time, and she recalls that her mother told her to stay inside her room and work on her book report, that her and her boyfriend were going to be in the other room talking about him moving out because Lana was no longer happy, and things ended up getting pretty heated. That's when Steven Stampinato allegedly said that he was going to disfigure Lana and destroy her family. That's when 14-year-old Cheryl had enough and went downstairs and looked for something to protect her mother with. What she found was a knife. Cheryl said that when she opened the door that Stampinato walked into her knife and she ended up stabbing him in the abdomen. He immediately fell to the floor and was unable to survive from such a fatal wound. And to make a long story short, Lana's daughter got away with murder. A week after the stabbing, Cheryl had to go before a coroner's jury. They all decided that she was just protecting her mother and that it was justifiable homicide. Why has no one made a Lifetime movie about this? So in my last video about Debbie Reynolds, a lot of you guys were really quick to point out that she was known for many more roles than just Grandma Aggie. She's actually in what's considered to be one of the greatest musicals of all time, and that is the iconic Singing in the Rain. But what you might not know is Debbie Reynolds is the mother to a really, really iconic actress. Her daughter is the one and only Carrie Fisher, who you may know from her iconic role as Princess Leia in the Star Wars film. But what you don't know is she also gave birth to a famous actress. And her name is Billie Lourd. You may know her from her roles in Scream Queens, American Horror Story, and the movie Booksmart. But what you might not know is the story of Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher comes to a very dramatic ending. On December 27th, 2016, Carrie Fisher was returning home from a Star Wars press tour when she had a heart attack on an airplane and died. And not 24 hours later, her mom had a stroke and died of what many believe is a broken heart because she missed her daughter so much. But don't worry, because Billie Lourd is still alive and she's still acting and keeping on the family legacy. And she makes her mother proud by doing little tributes like this all the time, wearing the iconic Princess Leia buns in her own way. Like and follow me for more weird Hollywood family trees.
Wild facts about old Hollywood. Joan Crawford soaked her eyes in boric acid every week in order to make them sparkle on camera. Audrey Hepburn separated each of her eyelashes with a safety pin in order to get a doe-eyed look. Jackie Cooper couldn't make himself cry while shooting the movie Skippy, and so the director threatened to have his dog killed if he didn't produce tears. Female actresses were made to sign contracts that would force them to have an abortion and prevent them from getting married. This would prevent them from destroying their value through scandal. Gay and lesbian actors, however, were forced into marriages in order to hide their sexual identity. Hattie McDaniel was the first black woman to ever win an Oscar but wasn't allowed to attend the ceremony because of the colour of her skin. She was eventually let into the ceremony but still had to sit at the back. They shot the movie The Conqueror very close to a nuclear testing site. Many of the cast and crew eventually developed some kind of cancer from radiation exposure.
Yo, let's talk about Marilyn Monroe's gravesite for a second. Marilyn Monroe used to be married to Joe DiMaggio, and when they were married, she bought that middle plot right there, and right above her was supposed to be Joe, but when they got divorced, he sold it to this guy named Richard Poncher. So right before Richard died, he tells his wife that he wants to be buried face down so that he could be facing Marilyn Monroe for all of eternity, and if she doesn't do that, he's going to haunt her forever. And that's exactly what happened, which is really creepy. Directly next to her is Hugh Hefner, who never actually met her in real life and published photos of her as the first sweetheart of the month for Playboy, which actually almost ruined her career and was done so without her permission. Marilyn totally deserved better, and I think she deserves her own crypt or something away from.
During the studio era, many of the stars were under 4 or 7-year contracts with the studios. For a lot of people, getting one of these contracts was a dream come true, but it also came with its fair share of rules. Here are some that you might not know. Stars were created like characters, with personas that they had to stick to. You could be a boy next door, a girl next door, a leading man, or the bombshell. Actors were often given fake origin stories, and it was their job to stick to the image they were given. If If you were an actress, there was a significant chance that the studio was going to tell you how to look, which meant that you were usually put on a strict diet. Judy Garland was one of the actresses who had a famously regulated diet in addition to diet pills, which later led to her pill addiction. In addition to your looks and persona, the studio often told you who to date in order to drum up publicity for a movie. This still seems to happen today between a lot of actors and pop stars.